Hey guys, thank you for joining me. We're going through Leviticus 20 this week. Here's my desktop, or my eSword. I love eSword. I would recommend it to everybody. I'd be very happy to share my topic notes. I've got a huge amount of topic notes that I could share with people. You know, keep in mind, this is something that I've been working on for 20 years, probably. I've had eSword maybe even longer than that. I think I've had eSword since at least 2000, so 25 years. It's got a lot of work in it and a lot of growth in it. The reason I mentioned that, how long it's been, is I've changed. You know what? I've changed a lot in the course of these 26 years. Even more, really, because there was a time that I didn't have eSword, that I was still reading the scriptures. But, you know, you find things. It's all about line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little bit, there a little bit. And so some of my notes, and you see them periodically as we go through my classes, I see a note and I think, no, that's a bad note, stinking thinking, and I delete it. I mean, that's what I have to do. But there's a lot of those kinds of things on my eSword that you have to get through. If I were to give you all my study notes, my highlights, and my topic notes. But I'd be very happy to share them with anybody who happens to have eSword on their computer. That said, let's go ahead and get started. It's going to start like exactly as it has for the last probably 10 chapters. Then Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying almost the same words exactly. But here is doing something a little bit differently. I'm going to read it on the right. You can read it on the left, so you can see what I've changed and how it actually reads. I think it's going to be easier for you to understand. You know, translators, I think, have an agenda. I think there's certain things they don't want you to see. One of the first things we're going to talk about today is Bnei Israel, a.k.a. sons of Israel, a.k.a. and much, much worse, children of Israel. We don't know who they are when it says children of Israel. We barely know who they are when it says sons of Israel. But if you use the wording that I've come up with, Israel's seed, we understand that these are multi-generations of spiritually born men. They were born at Passover. That's when the Ger became the Ezrach. He got circumcised, ate the Passover, and it says he became as an Ezrach haaretz, as a born in the land man. You know, you look on some of these links here. This is Ezrach. Here's the word for Ezrach. That's who the B'nai are. Here's the link. Look what it says. Springing up, native born. Of course, this is Strong. Strong's has an agenda, and he's hiding things. But they say native, tree, or person. But what do you think of when you sing native, tree, or person? You think of somebody who is born in that physical land. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a man who is spiritually born into Yehovah's kingdom. Remember, when he talked to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it was all about, hello, Brian, it was all about Israel's seed. And he talks about the land and the seed, the land and the seed. I will give you seed, and you shall inherit this land. This is the people that we're talking about, the Ezrach haaretz. Well, and that's who, look at how it starts. Again, you shall say to Israel's seed. Again, don't read it, children of Israel. Then it says whoever. No, it says man, man. Isn't that interesting? They translate it as whoever. Sometimes they say every man. This time they said whoever, but it actually says ish ish. Ish ish. There it is. Ish ish. Every man of who? Israel's seed, B'nai Israel. So remember, he's talking to B'nai Israel, but now he's saying every man of B'nai Israel and the ger who sojourns in Israel. So he's speaking to Israel, saying that you, Israel, and the ger who dwells with you, here's what he's going to say now, who gives his seed, his zerah, they translate it as descendants. Now we're talking about seed. His seed to Moloch. Here's Moloch. We'll talk about that word in just a second. Shall surely be put to death. Now look what it says. The land's people. They put the people of the land. When you read the people of the land, what is it you think of? Oh, our friend left. Would you be thinking of the Canaanites? The Amorites? Or maybe you should be thinking about the Ezrach men. Do you think? Could they be the land's people? Remember, we're talking about spiritually born people, aren't we? It says the land's people, there's the lands, the Ha'arats, that would be Ha'arats, shall stone him with stones. Stone him, who? The Israelite or the stranger who happened to be giving his seed to Moloch. Now, this is important because, I want to move you ahead so that we see who Israel is. Remember, Israel, he told Moses, speaking to Pharaoh, my son, my firstborn. Do you hear? Not your firstborn, my firstborn is Israel. That's what it says. Israel didn't get to leave Egypt until when? When they had their Passover. Then they got to leave Egypt. They became Yehovah's son. Not daughters. If the sons are married, have women in their lives, bone of their bone, flesh of their flesh, their women are their daughters. Here, we talked about this last week, and I think this was enlightening. First, it talked about you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Remember, who's the you? You read the scriptures, people tend to think that they're the you, don't they? Well, we have to understand who the you is. He's talking to Israel's seed. They're the you. And you're not the you unless you've been circumcised and kept the Passover. Then you become the you. And it looks to me that it always talks about the Ezrach and those who dwell with them and the ger who dwell with them. It looks to me that we have a responsibility to have a man who wants to learn Yehovah's ways join us on a regular basis. Just one man. It never says gerim. It always talks about the Ezrach who dwells with you. And in fact, this is a great thing. It says it today. The Ezrach, the ger who dwells with you. It doesn't say the gerim. It says the ger who dwells with you. So there's only one. But that man then has not only the opportunity, But I think when Passover comes around next, he has the responsibility to keep the Passover, be circumcised, keep the Passover, him, all the men in his household, and be circumcised, and then eat the Passover. And he becomes the Ezrach. Now he's going to get new land, and he can have a ger who joins him. Of course, he's just learning, so he's maybe want to wait just a little bit. So we were talking about the ger who dwells with us. That is the neighbor that we're talking about. The neighbor who we're supposed to love is ourselves. It's the ger who dwells with us, not the guy next door. See, again, we make the mistake of saying you or seeing you, and we think we're the you, but we're not the you until we actually become an Ezrach. All right, the born in the land man. So I got a hunch when he's talking about the people of the land's people shall stone him with stones. I think he's talking about the Ezrach, not the Canaanites, not the Amorites. Why would you have some heathen killing an Israelite or a ger? Makes no sense at all, does it? Although, they would want to encourage Israel to be unfaithful to Yehovah and to be faithful to their God, Moloch. All right, well, here's Moloch, a pagan god of the Amorites, to whom, among other things, children were sacrificed. And isn't this exactly what we're seeing going on in the world right now? You know that sigil? Did you see, who was it? The king of starts with a Z, visiting Zelensky. Did you see Zelensky's T-shirt that he wore when he went to see Trump? It had a sigil on it. You know, that sigil is the same sigil that is used for Moloch, and the same sigil that is used for the Khazarians. Doesn't that just tell you something? Especially when we're talking about the children being sacrificed. It all is starting to fit together. We've never seen it before. For me, that was done in the past. They don't do that anymore. Silly you, Michael. Foolish you, Michael. Of course they do. So, now, just so we have this reinforced, the children of Israel, Israel's seed, B'nai Israel, it says, I will set, this is verse 3, I will set my face against that. What does it say? It says man, Ish. There are no lady Ishas. So when we talk about the Ezrach and we talk about the Gerim, the man, they're men. They're men. It doesn't say this, I'll set my face against a woman. No, I will set my face against that man who gave his seed to Moloch. I have to wonder. Actually, I'll say it when we finish this verse. Let me read it on the right, and you watch it on the left. I will also set my face against that man, and I will cut him off from among his people, because he has given his seed, he has given, really from his seed, I suppose you could say also, unto Moloch, to defile, look at what it says, to defile my sanctuary, is what it says on the left, to defile my sanctuary, and profane my holy name. I have a question about this word sanctuary. It came up last week, and we talked about this being, look what it says. It talks about a consecrated thing or place. I want to look at the consecrated thing. What would be some consecrated things that comes from Israel's seed? Could it be the firstborn that was supposed to be given to Yehovah? and that we get to redeem for 5 shekels? I think so. And it makes me wonder, does Moloch want the firstborn sons who are supposed to be consecrated to Yehovah? They would be holy things, wouldn't they? They would be, this is the word that they use for that, Mikdash. Many times, I went through it, a lot of the verses, and many times it is the sanctuary. It is the temple, or the tabernacle. But I don't think that's what we're talking about here. How are we defiling, by giving our seed to Moloch, Yehovah's tabernacle? It's all they had right then, and when this was written, there was no temple yet. No, I think we're talking about giving seed to Moloch when it was supposed to be given to Yehovah. Profaning his name. They're his. We're giving them to Moloch. No wonder we're going to be destroyed. Well, that's my thoughts, okay? I'm not saying it's necessarily fact, but I don't see how we can defile Yehovah's tabernacle by giving our seed to Moloch. That's what I'm thinking. Verse 4. And now here it is again. And if the last people were supposed to what? They were supposed to stone the one who gave either the stranger or Israel's seed, the Ezrach, to Moloch. They were supposed to stone him. But now it says, if the land's people should in any way hide their eyes from the man, in other words, not hold him accountable when he gives his seed to Moloch. There it is, from his seed, gives from his seed to Moloch. That's Zerah. This is talking about the man that we're talking about up above. And they do not kill him. Next verse. Then I will set my face against that man, the Israelite, or the Ger, who gave his seed to Moloch. I will give the man, and against his family, I will face. No, he says, I will set my face against that man and against his family. Now I have to ask, do you think he's talking about his wife and his 2 kids? Or do you think he's talking about his brothers and his fathers and his uncles? See, we have to think differently. I don't think we're talking about my wife and my 2 kids. I think we're talking about the family, the immediate family who knows what's going on, and they persist in doing it. So now he's going to kill them all. They should have taken care of their brother, their father, their son, whoever it was. They didn't. Now they're responsible for it, and Yehovah's going to take care of them. So look what he says. I will set my hand, cut him off from his people. Cut him off from his people, and all who they say prosecuted, or all who prostituted themselves. They are considered whores and adulterers. The word that we're using here is the word for adultery. Supposed to serve Yehovah. They're serving another Elohim. That's an adulterous relation. You know, the reason we wear these tzitzi on our garments is why? To remember all the commandments and judgments of Yehovah and not follow the harlotry to which our heart and our minds are inclined. That's why. So they are going to be all who prostituted themselves. These are the family members with him, the man, to commit harlotry with Moloch. to commit hard whoredom with Moloch. See, we're not talking about sex. We're talking about having another Elohim besides us. Now, in that light, we're going to see some things as we go through here. I entitled this particular chapter, "The Unholy Are Separated." Or I could say the unholy are separate from the nations that are all around them. Verse 6. It says, "And the person," and the soul, the nephesh, "who turns to mediums and familiar spirits to prostitute himself with them, to commit whoredom with them." He's seeking other, I don't want to say Elohim. They're not Elohim, but they're acting as if they have some understanding that perhaps Yehovah doesn't have. The first word is this word here. It says of. Predators, mumblers. Ancient Hebrew lexicon of ancient Hebrew lexicon of the Bible says medium, one who invokes the dead, a ghost, possibly from their murmuring like a sound of wine pouring out of the wineskin. Let's stick with invoking the dead or ghosts without messing with the murmuring and all the other things that go along with that. I think that just gets confusing. And then the other word has to do, well, here it is. This is Yadoni. This happens to be Yadonim, because it's plural. It has the root right here of knowledge. And ancient Hebrew lexicon of the Bible breaks down this particular word for knowledge this way. I think this is very apropos as we are going through our lives these very days as it relates to, dare I say, the Q posts. Listen to this. He says, the dalet is a picture of a door. The ayin is a picture of the eye. Through the eyes, one experiences his world and learns from it. Combined, these pictures mean the door of the eye. The eye is the window into the man's very being. Experience is gained through visual observation. Knowledge is achieved through these experiences. What does Q say? You can't tell them. You gotta show them. They got to see it. And that's where we're at right now. There's a disclosure going on right now. But, so that's the conjurer. Sometimes they're called wizard. But to my dismay, I put the medium channels the dead. That's what we just saw. Saul had the witch of Endor channel Samuel. Well, you would expect that when he goes to see this woman who channels familiar spirits, that you would see this word of. Because we're talking about invoking the dead and ghosts. But no, they use this word, Yadonim. Here. Then Saul said to his servants, "Find me a woman who is a medium." They use the word from above. Maybe these two words are very intimately related. That could be. That I may go to her and inquire of her. Not Yehovah, and inquire of him. That's why it's harlotry. And his servant said to him, "In fact, there's a woman who hath familiar spirits." Spirits. This is Yedonim. That is familiar spirits at Endor. So Saul disguised himself and put on other clothes, and he went with the two men to with him. And they came to the woman at night. And he said, please conduct a seance. That's what we're talking about, a seance. Raising the dead, talking to the dead. But it seems like that's the other word, doesn't it? Please conduct a seance for me and bring up for me the one that I shall name. He hasn't named Saul yet, but that's who he's going to get information. He wants to get her to get information from Saul to him. He's seeking the dead. Not a good idea. Let's continue. Here's 7. Now he says, so that was just a sideline, really, the familiar spirits, that we're supposed to get rid of them. This is what the people of the land do. We're going to be separate from the people of the land. He says, consecrate yourselves. Here's the word. The consecrate yourselves has the word kadash in it. Kadash is holy. Consecrate yourselves, therefore, and become. They always say be. I think we are becoming. This is the word hayah, the same word that's used when a ger circumcises himself, eats the Passover, and becomes hayah as one born in the land. Now you could say he is as, but I think it's a process. Is it possible it's a process? Holiness, learning righteousness. Again, for a man, a woman doesn't learn righteousness. A woman follows her man. In Ezekiel, let's go to Ezekiel for just a second. I want to go to Ezekiel 18, and I think it's 24. Yeah, here it is. But if a righteous man, remember we're talking about be holy. If a righteous man turns away from his righteousness, we're supposed to learn righteousness. Remember we talked about last week the ger having some minimum requirements when they come to join themselves to Israel's seed. They aren't supposed to eat blood. They're not supposed to eat things strangled. There was a number of things that actually, if you do it, you get kicked out of Israel before you even join Israel. But here it says, when a man turns from his righteousness and commits iniquity and does according to the abominations that the wicked man does, shall he live? No, he's not going to live. All the righteousness which he has done shall not be remembered him because of the unfaithfulness of which he's guilty. Those are the things that he should have done and didn't. And the sins which he has committed, those are the things that he shouldn't have done, but did do. So you can either be supposed to be doing something that you don't or doing something that you shouldn't. Works both ways. But either way, he says, because of them, he shall die. That's why I say, I think it's a matter of becoming, not necessarily being holy. Now, Yehovah is holy. Let me go back. And here we are. That's 7. I guess that was where we are. Yeah, 7. Consecrate yourselves. Become holy. Become holy. This is Kodashim, because he's talking about y'all becoming holy. So when he's talking about y'all, he's going to use the plural form of that word. For I am Yehovah, your Elohim. What did we say? Elohim. No, Elihakim. Elihakim. Y'all's Elohim. Here, at the end of this chapter, we're going to have kind of a very similar verse. It says, and you shall become, I put become, they have it as be, you shall become, Hayah, holy, Kodashim, y'all shall do it, to me. For I, Yehovah, am Kodesh. I have separated you from the peoples. You're not supposed to be like the peoples. For you, or should I say even that you should become mine. That you should Yeah, I think it has to be mine. It's not. It doesn't say it there, but it does. That you'll become mine. So here's holy. We talked about that last week. I don't think I want to go through it again. We were talking about the doll at the door. We were talking about the shin and scratching the grain. So that we separate the chaff from the wheat. Remember, it's a state of being. It says, so the word kadosh can be understood as referring to the state of being after the chaff has been removed. Pure, holy. In other words, the word holy implies a state of being without mixture. So that's why I say becoming holy, we're getting rid of the mixture in our life. And that is a process. That's why I say my e-sword, I've been doing it for 26 years. I've come closer and become more holy through those years because I've gotten better understandings of what Yehovah's word is actually saying. I hope that makes sense to you. Israel's called to be without mixture, just as Yehovah is without mixture. And I've got a couple verses we can talk to about that, being holy as he's holy, but I'm not going to go through those. On the right, it says, and you shall guard, here's the word they use for that, shamar, you shall keep, they translate it as keep, it's shamar. It's a different word, very similar in things. You know, Yehovah's word doesn't always apply to just us. Sometimes it's for the priests, sometimes it's for the farmers, sometimes it's for, but we're going to guard it all. We're going to keep it all safe. That's why it says, you shall guard my statutes and perform them. I am Yehovah, who, what? It says, sanctifies you. Look at the word it used, who sets you apart. Same word, Kadesh. Who sets you apart. I put same word as verse 3. Also, what did verse 3 say? Just out of curiosity. This is 8, verse 3. Sanctuary. That's really interesting. Remember, I said that it's a holy thing. It's a consecrated thing. It's the same word. Isn't that interesting? Clearly, that word is not saying sanctuary in this particular verse. Who sets you apart? No, it doesn't. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really interesting that you see things like this. You got to see how they fit together. Remember, it's line upon line, precept upon precept. Who sanctifies you? Here, I had verse 3 right there. So we'd had that. Why is that? This is exactly the same word. Well, the same root of this word, I guess. No, it's got the same word. Yeah, it's exactly the same word, but this one has a different number on it. Why would it have a different number on it? Because look, it's coming up to make clean, consecrate. Yeah, I don't know why they would put a different word on exactly the same root. It makes no sense. But remember, we're talking about a holy thing, a consecrated thing. Not a tabernacle, not the temple. No, we weren't defiling his tabernacle. We were defiling his sacred thing by sending the child who was supposed to be his. All right, enough. Now, you shall keep my statutes and perform them. I always want to say, you shall keep my statutes and my ordinances. He doesn't say ordinances in this particular case, but this is what we're doing. We're not keeping the ordinances of the people of the land, and we're going to see that as we go through here. Number 9, it says, for everyone. Now here, they translated it as whoever. Ish, any man, whoever. Now they're translating it as everyone. Ish. Could ish be written twice because it's talking about the Ezrach and the Ger? I wonder. Just thought about that just this second. But it could be one of the reasons why they say Ishish. We're not talking about ladies. It says everyone who curses his, not her, his mother or father shall surely be put to death. Now we're talking about men, aren't we? Ishish. All men. I really like that idea of that being the Ezra of the Ger. Although it doesn't hold true for many of the other ones in here. This says Ishish. Now, it says curses. The word that they're putting as curses is this word right here, 70:43, which is kala. It means light. Take light. Something light, or light in weight or stature. Remember, when it said honor your mother and your father, in what, the 5th commandment? Honor was to give weight to. Here we're talking about taking lightly our mother and our father. You know, I said mother and father. This is how the world thinks. We never say father and mother. Have you ever noticed that? Why do we always say my mom and dad? How come we don't talk about my dad and mom? Who has the authority of the household? Torah always says father and mother, not mother and father. See, these are little things, but we have to challenge our thinking. Everyone who curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. Takes lightly his mother or father. He has taken lightly his father and his mother. His blood shall be upon him. Wow. That's pretty serious consequences, isn't it? The man who commits adultery with another man's woman, he commits adultery with his neighbor's wife. What's the word they use for neighbor? Look at the word we talked about last week. Reah. Friend, his friend's wife. I guess the friend could be an Ezra or a Ger. But it's his friend's wife, his neighbor's wife. It says the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Oh, again, you know, this has deeper meanings. You commit adultery by sleeping with another man's woman. Not by sleeping with a separate woman, an unclaimed woman, an unmarried woman, if you will. No, you commit adultery by taking another man's woman. There's a big difference. You know, a lot of marriages have been dissolved because the woman thought her man had committed adultery. And you know what's sad? The man thought he had committed adultery too. We've been programmed. We've been programmed in movies. We've been programmed in books. We've been programmed on the radio. We've been programmed. And we've followed it. You know, the world doesn't want a man to have multiple wives. Did you know in the New Testament men had multiple wives? Talking about what a deacon is. In some of it, it says a man with only one woman. Only one, they say only one wife, but it's only one woman. In other words, if you have more than one woman, you can't be a deacon. You're too busy. But see, we don't see that because we're programmed to think one man, one woman, aren't we? I want to challenge your thinking. Some of our thinking is pretty stinking thinking. Yeah, here. This is You shall not commit adultery. Here it says in Deuteronomy 22, if a man is found lying with a woman, ba'aled, mastered by a Baal, mastered by a master, then both of them shall die, the man who lay with the woman and the woman. So you shall put away the evil from Israel. This is Leviticus 20. We're in Leviticus 20. We don't need to do that. That's what we were just reading. Anyway, adultery. So that man, it says both shall be put to death. I'm trying to remember to underline these. If a man. Oh, here. This said man. This is said a man. And a man. And a man. That's what it says. And a man. It doesn't say ish. It says and a man. So who are we talking to? Ladies? No, we're talking to men. Who lies with his father's woman. Has uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death. Both of them shall surely be put to death. The adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. It said on this one. Whoops, sorry. Their blood shall be upon them. You know what it really says? It says their blood. Their blood. That's what it says. Their blood. I could almost do this. Their blood. I think I did do this in many cases. I can make it grayed to let you know that that's what we're talking about. Their blood shall be upon them, but it's not what it says. It just says their blood. That was 11. 12. Again, and a man. And a man. There it is. And a man. And an ish. Ish. Who lies with his daughter-in-law. Death, they shall die. That's interesting. What do they say here? It says, both of them shall surely be put to death. It says death, they shall die. Moot, moot. Here it is. Moot, moot. This is moot. This is moot. Maybe one is the action, the other one is the noun. Death, they shall die. Moot, moot. You know, it's interesting when Yehovah repeats himself. You always have to ask yourself why. And think about this. The things that we're talking about right now in these next few verses are things that we talked about 2 weeks ago in Leviticus 19, aren't they? Is he repeating himself? I think he is repeating himself. This is important. I want you to get this. Their blood shall be upon them. They shall surely be put to death. Both of them shall surely be put to death. There it is. 13. Again, and a man who lies with a male, as he lies with a woman, an abomination. That's what he says, an abomination. What's the word? An abhorrence. It's an abhorrence. They do. Death, they shall die. Moot, moot. Their blood shall be upon them. There it is. I did do it right that time. Death, they shall die. They shall surely be put to death. Man who lies with a male. You know, you got to always look at what doesn't it say? It's not saying anything about a woman in here, is it? Is it talking about a woman who lies with a woman? No, a woman can't really lie with a woman. There's no seed. Does that mean a woman lying with a woman and not having a man in their life is okay? No. The sin that they're missing is they don't have a covering. The woman needs a covering. Every woman needs a covering. You know, look through the scriptures. You won't find women in Torah who don't have a covering. Unless they are, in fact, whores, prostitutes. No, every woman has a covering. That's why we take care of our widows and orphans. We don't take care of Babylon's widows and orphans. We take care of our widows and orphans, the widows and orphans in our gates, in our families. We take care of them. We got a lot more to understand. 14. It says again, and a man, va'ish, who takes lakak, a woman and her mother. You're going to have sex with a woman and her mother. He says, it is wickedness. They shall be burned with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you. Vaish, if a man who mates with an animal shall surely be put to death, and you shall kill the animal. In the next verse, and a woman who approaches any animal and mates with it, you shall kill the woman. You shall kill the woman. Who's you? Israel's seed is the you. Keep that in mind. Not the general public, not the Canaanites, not the Amorites, not the Perizzites, not the Edomites. Well, they love killing. Death, they shall die. Moot, moot. There it is again. Moot, moot. Put to death. Oh, look, it says moot, moot. No, there it is right there. Moot, moot. This said, he shall surely be put to death, and that is the consequences for a man sleeping with an animal, as well as the animal. Verse 17, it says, if a man takes his sister. Oh, this kind of fits into what our discussion was afterwards last week. It says, if a man takes his sister. If a man takes where are we? Here it is. If a man takes his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter. So these are the daughter of your mother. You have a mother, and she has a daughter, even by another man. She's your sister. A father, she's your father, but you had another sister by another man, another woman. He's still your sister. That's what we're talking about for sure here. It doesn't talk about, I forget what we had mentioned last week, I don't even know what it was, half-sisters. Is that a half-sister? Maybe that's a half-sister. We don't sleep with them. They have a common mother or a common father. If they have a common mother or a common father, you don't sleep with them. What does it say? And sees her nakedness, and she sees his nakedness. It is a wicked thing, and they shall surely be cut off in the sight of their people. They're going to get kicked out of their people's lands. He has uncovered his sister's nakedness. He shall bear his guilt. He shall bear his guilt. I wonder what that means. Probably it says he shall bear his guilt. Asham would probably be the word that they're using there. Well, let's check, just out of curiosity. It doesn't take but a second. Bear his, it's avan, his evil. They said guilt. It's not avan, it's avah, avan, avan. Yeah, evil. Bear his evil. Oh, I'm glad I looked it up. So you're not guilty, you're evil if you're going to take your sister. Bear his, I had it right there. It's Avan. I already did have that sorted out, didn't I? Okay. 18. If a man, and a man. It doesn't say if. None of these said if. They all say va'ada. or va'ish, if a man, and a man who, it says who, that's why I had who. If a man, and a man who lies with a woman during her sickness, her dava, her menses, and uncovers her nakedness, he has exposed her flow, and she has uncovered the flow of her blood. That's the word that we're talking about here is dava, her menstrual cycle. If it happens by accident, you're having sex with your woman, and she all of a sudden her menses start, not a problem. You're going to be unclean for a week, just like she's going to be unclean for a week. But it's not a death sentence. Here, they're being cut off from among their people. That's a death sentence, and that's not only a death sentence, cut off from their people. They're not being killed. They're being cut off from their people. But in a sense, they're not going to have eternal life. So in a sense, it's a death sentence. Next one, you shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, nor your father's sister, for that would uncover his near of kin. They shall bear their evil. Again, they translated that as evil. It's not evil, or it's not guilt. It's evil. We can fix that. Let's do it here too, since we already know what it is. Thy father's sister, your aunt. You can't take your aunt. Now, interesting enough, Amram, Moses' and Aaron's father, took his father's sister, his aunt. He took his aunt. You see this in Torah periodically. Oh, well, it was okay then. No, I don't think it was. That's what happened. If a man, and a man who lies with his uncle's wife. So here is his mother or father's sister. And now here's his uncle's wife, his uncle's woman. That's what we're talking about. If a man lies with his uncle's woman, his uncle's ish, he has uncovered his uncle's nakedness. They shall surely bear their sins. But they both shall die childless. They're not being killed. What's up with that? If you're taking your uncle's woman, how's that not adultery? What's up with that? Why are they not both killed? They shall die childless. Here's how I interpret that. Does this mean that the wicked man's seed will be destroyed from the earth? Does that mean when he dies, there won't be any seed? What if he's got seed? Are they going to die because of what he did? Can a man die for another man's sin? It says a man shall die for his own sin, but that wouldn't work then with the seed being taken from the earth. But if he's dying childless, being childish, he is being childish, but he's dying childless, means he's not going to have seed. Verse, did I do this one? Oh, there is an exception to taking your sister-in-law. If your brother dies before they have a firstborn son, they have daughters, but if they don't have a son yet, then you, as an Israelite man, are obligated to take her as your woman. Oh, but I'm already married. Take her as your woman. That's what Yehovah says. She's going to be a second woman, but you want to give her a child. Again, does this mean that the wicked man's seed will... Oh, I said that. Here's the Levirate marriage. That's what I was going for. The purpose of this exception is to assure that the inherited property remains in the family. You want to give seed so that the seed stays in the family, the land stays in the family, and to provide for the well-being of the widow in her old age. This arrangement is more for welfare, security, and to provide a covering for the widow with the near of kin. Yeah, so interesting what Yehovah does to provide for these women. This is Deuteronomy talking about taking your brother's wife after he dies. Or no, maybe this is if you didn't do it. There's a shoe involved and some other things. I'm not going to go through that. We'll talk about Levirate marriage when we get to Deuteronomy 25. Or maybe it even comes before then. Verse 22. It says, y'all shall guard all my statutes. So here we are. Keeping. They said keeping. No, guarding. You shall guard all my statutes and my judgments to perform them, that the land where I am bringing y'all to dwell may not vomit you out. Oh. But look, he even takes it further. I'm going to read the next verse and then we'll do my notes on the right. He says, and y'all shall not walk in the statutes of the nations. You shall not walk in the statutes of the nations, which I'm casting out before you. For they commit all these things, and therefore I abhor them. So that's not only a positive commandment, it's a negative commandment. You shall, this is what we were talking about before, you shall keep all my statutes and my judgments. You shall not walk in their statutes and their judgments. Now, it says it more than once. That was Leviticus 22. Here's Leviticus 18. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. You shall therefore guard my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, either any of your own nation or the stranger, or any stranger who dwells with y'all. For all these abominations the men of the land have done, who were before you, and thus the land is defiled, lest the land vomit you out. Also, they're going to be vomited out when you defile it, as it vomited out the nations that were before them. Now, consider this. But the wicked are removed from the earth, but the righteous will remain on it. Isn't this just exactly the opposite of what most Christians understand as a rapture? You know, there's no rapture in the Bible. Doesn't exist. In fact, quite the opposite exists than the righteous being taken from the earth. Oh, if you believe in Jesus, you're going to be swept up into heaven. That's what they tell you. I think it's a false narrative given to us by the Catholic Church, who actually was a priest that came up with this nonsensical theory. Talk about a conspiracy. That's a true conspiracy. Look what it says, Proverbs. For the upright will dwell in the land, and the blameless will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the earth, and the unfaithful will be uprooted from it. Does that make much more sense? Here's another one, Proverbs 10. The righteous will never be removed, but the wicked will not inherit the earth. Interesting, too, it says earth and not world, doesn't it? But that's another story. Let's go to verse 23. Oh, no, I had notes. Didn't I have notes on that, or did I have notes on that? I guess those were the notes. All right. Statutes on this one. this is pretty much saying the same kinds of things. I love this one from Esther. I think it really spells it out well. It says, then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered and dispersed among the people of in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from all other peoples, and they do not keep the king's laws. They do not keep the king's laws. Here he says in Leviticus 18, nor shall you walk in their ordinances. Pretty spelled out, isn't it? But I have said to you, y'all shall inherit their land. What? Because they got kicked out. Because they're evil. And I will give it to you to possess a land flowing with milk and honey. I am Yehovah Elohim, your Elohim, who has separated you from the peoples. Remember, we're separate from the peoples. We're holy. We're learning holiness to be fully Yehovah's. Talking to men. I'm not talking to ladies. Ladies, follow your men. You shall therefore distinguish between clean animals and unclean, between unclean birds and clean. You shall not make, they put yourself, it actually says, you shall not make your souls abominable by beast or by bird or by any kind of living thing that creeps on the ground, which I have separated from you as evil. Is there a reason why the deep state wants you to eat bugs? You think? All right, 26. We're almost done. And you shall be holy. This is the one we were reading before. And you shall be holy. You shall become holy. Haya. Kodeshim. To me, for I, Yehovah, am Kodesh, and have separated you from the peoples, that you should become mine. That's the goal. Well, this last verse seems like an afterthought to me. 26, that seems like a conclusion. But it's kind of like this 27 says, oh, and by the way, in case I didn't mention it, it says, and if a man or a woman becomes a spirit medium or a sorcerer, you know what? I'm going to say that a little bit differently, just to fit what we said before. If a man or a woman who becomes a spirit medium or a sorcerer must be put to death. Who's they? Israel's seed shall stone them to death. Their blood will be on them. So, in case I haven't mentioned it, this medium and this Yedoni or this Ab, you got to kill them. Can't have them in your land. They can't be a part of your land. That's why the woman at Endor was so upset with Saul coming to her. No, with first king of Israel. Help me, guys. Saul. No, Saul. Yeah, it was Saul. Yeah, it was Saul. Saul coming to him wanting to talk to Samuel because she knows they're supposed to be put to death. But Saul isn't that kind of king. He's not going to do righteousness. That's why he didn't get to stay king. All right, we'll stop here. You guys, thank you so much for joining me. Next week, we got some interesting things to talk about. We're going to talk about the priests. And one thing in particular we're going to talk about is the kinds of women that the priests and the Kohen Gadol, Kohen, the high priest, can take as a woman. There's 4 different kinds of women. Oh, that was really interesting. Wait till you see that. I think you'll find that enlightening. Well, consider joining me next time. Thank you for joining me this time.